faithfully conveying value and exploring great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally Book Talk. Today, I'll interpret this book for you called Out of Darkness with the subtitle Exploring Human Prehistory. People usually call history with written records civilized history, like the four great ancient civilizations. Their civilizations all began after writing appeared, while history before writing is hard to understand. People call this period without written records human prehistory, in English, prehistory, so it's also known as the Dark Ages. Due to the lack of written records, people's impression of prehistory always stays on legends and myths, thinking prehistoric humans lived barbaric lives, eating raw flesh and drinking blood, a very dark era. However, with advances in science and technology and the rise of archaeology, people gradually realized that prehistoric humans actually moved out of darkness toward stable and harmonious lives. So, when did prehistory begin and when did it end? What was the real living condition of prehistoric humans really like? Well, the book we're discussing today will answer these questions. The author of this book, Chris Gosden, is a famous British archaeologist, professor at Oxford University, and also the director of the Pitt Rivers Museum. The Pitt Rivers Museum is used by Oxford University to specifically collect archaeological and anthropological artifacts. Professor Gosden wrote this book to review the main research contents and achievements of human prehistory. It mainly introduces this dark history without written records to the public. All right, next I'll use two questions to interpret the main content of the book for you. First, what is the basic outline of human prehistory? Second, what is the real survival condition of prehistoric humans? Now, let's talk about the first question. What is the basic outline of human prehistory? According to the record in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, the first year of the world is 4,400 BC. In this year, God created the earth and humans, and there was no human prehistory. This is the religious view. With the development of science, especially the emergence of archaeology, many people began to question this view. In 1865, Sir John Lubbock published the book Prehistoric Times, and the term prehistory began to be widely used. So the scientific community gradually became enthusiastic about exploring and researching prehistory. Although there are no written records, with numerous archaeological discoveries, people have gained a clear understanding of when human prehistory began, the migration paths of prehistoric humans, and when it ended. Let's first discuss the beginning of human prehistory. Maybe you've heard that humans evolved from apes. The moment apes evolved into humans is what we consider the start of human prehistory. Therefore, archaeologists have been working hard to find the oldest human fossils that differ from apes. Latest research shows that the earliest starting point of human prehistory is the Tugan Hills hominids discovered in Kenya, Africa, dating back 6 million years. Why are the Tugan hominids considered human? Because fossil studies show they had learned to walk upright and were likely omnivores like humans. These ancient humans weren't content staying in Africa. They wanted to explore. Well-known examples like Yuan Muman, Lantian Mon, and Peking Mon are considered descendants of these ancient humans who migrated to Asia. Archaeologists once thought they were ancestors of modern humans, a view called the multi-regional origin theory. However, with genetic technology, scientists found these ancient humans' DNA differs greatly from modern humans. They're not our true ancestors, just extinct relatives of modern humans. In other words, Yuan Mu Man, Lantian Man, Peking Man have little connection to modern Chinese people. Currently, academia widely believes our true direct ancestors are Homo sapiens, whose genes closely match modern humans. These Homo sapiens first appeared in Africa only 120 to 150,000 years ago. About 90,000 years ago, Homo sapiens left Africa incidentally eliminating other ancient humans to become Earth's only human species. This theory is called the recent African origin model. According to this theory, Homo sapiens left Africa 90,000 years ago, first arriving in the Middle East. Although they hadn't invented writing yet, these Homo sapiens had developed a language system. Language enabled communication between individuals, uniting more Homo sapiens to eliminate other ancient humans across regions, ultimately becoming Earth's only humans. So, by 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had spread across Eurasia. During that time, they even sailed to Oceania, and when the Ice Age hit, crossed the frozen Bering Strait into the Americas. Finally, Homo sapiens conquered the whole world. Then around 11,000 years ago, Homo sapiens in the Middle East were the first to domesticate wheat, goats, and sheep, starting to shift toward agricultural society. In the Aina temple in this region, archaeologists discovered clay tablets dating back about 5,000 years. A cuneiform script carved on them is the earliest known writing system in human history. That means in 3000 BC, the Middle East became the first place to end the prehistoric era. Hey, have you noticed that? Homo sapiens existed for over 100,000 years, but it wasn't until about 10,000 years ago, with the rise of agricultural societies, that writing was born. So, what's the connection between agriculture and the birth of writing? The link is that with more grain, they needed to keep records. Cuneiform writing started as counting symbols used to track grain quantities. In agricultural societies, people began gathering in villages and city-states to live together. As city-states grew larger, it meant needing big granaries for long-term grain storage. But how much grain was in stock and how much was moving in or out? Relying just on the keeper's memory wasn't enough, so cuneiform writing on clay tablets emerged. As human habitation expanded, writing systems appeared worldwide, ending the prehistoric era in different regions. The prehistoric era sometimes ended due to local invention of writing, but other times from invasion by literate civilizations. For example, the first recorded year with writing in Britain is 55 BC. In that year, Julius Caesar of ancient Rome led an invasion of the British Isles, leaving written records that ended Britain's prehistory. Oceania was the region where prehistory ended latest. For instance, Australia's indigenous people, who live by hunting, had no writing. It wasn't until 1788, when Europeans arrived, that Australia ended its prehistory. But wait, that's not the latest. In 1933, Europeans flew to Papua New Guinea for the first time. The indigenous people reacted like seeing aliens, and in shock, they suddenly entered modern civilization. That means the end of prehistory here was less than 100 years ago. All right, we've just covered the book's first question. What is the basic outline of human prehistory? Human prehistory can be traced back to Africa 6 million years ago. The multi-regional origin theory once proposed that humans who left Africa millions of years ago evolved into modern humans' ancestors across different regions. However, the recent African origin model is now more widely accepted in academia, stating that Homo sapiens who left Africa 90,000 years ago are our true ancestors. As human habitation expanded, writing systems appeared worldwide, ending prehistory in different regions. The Middle East, 5,000 years ago, while some Pacific islands didn't end theirs until the 20th century. Now that we understand prehistory's broad outline, let's explore some details. You might wonder, how exactly did prehistoric humans live? Next, we'll discuss the book's second question. What was the real living condition of prehistoric humans? As mentioned earlier, prehistory has no written records. So, how do we know how ancient humans lived? Beyond studying fossils, archaeologists have a unique method, digging through ancient trash piles. In fact, prehistoric archaeology's key lies in studying ancient humans' relationship with their garbage. For example, when examining an ancient human site, Besides fossils, archaeologists focus on whether stone tools surround the remains, evidence of fire use, and leftover animal bones. All crucial research points. To modern people, this household waste may seem worthless. But for archaeologists, it faithfully records prehistoric humans' real living conditions tens of thousands of years ago. And sometimes it's even more accurate and truthful than written records. Writings carry authors' subjectivity, while garbage never lies. To prove garbage's evidential value, scientists conducted a fascinating experiment in the 1970s. In Tucson, Arizona, 33 households claimed they never bought beer. But when scientists examined their trash bins, only 12 households had no empty beer cans in their garbage. This shows garbage can be more objective and truthful than people's words or writings. The prehistoric humans left more than just garbage. They created numerous artworks, especially after Homo sapiens appeared. Exquisite prehistoric artifacts have further helped us understand their lives, proving humans had already emerged from darkness, possessed intelligence, and began understanding and transforming nature. For example, the Uffington White Horse in Oxfordshire, UK, a 115-meter-long horse-shaped monument made of chalk stones. Archaeological research shows this white horse statue was built during prehistoric times over 3,000 years ago, indicating people then had aesthetic sense and could organize large-scale labor for social projects. Moreover, the white horse held symbolic meaning. It wasn't just stones or a horse, but a totem used for rituals and ceremonies. This shows prehistoric humans understood the external world in their own way, while creating new landscapes, a demonstration of human intelligence. Similar to how we use technology today, scientists conducted further excavations around the site, reconstructing life there 3,000 years ago. They used pottery, metalwork, wooden items, and textiles. They were artistic, singing, dancing, storytelling with sophisticated aesthetics. They had stable families, distinct social classes, and weren't isolated. They traded with Mediterranean, Baltic, and Red Sea regions, importing amber, coral, and metals, living in a mature, stable society. Thus, the prehistoric era, though lacking writing, was never fully ignorant or barbaric, especially after Homo sapiens conquered the world. They created advanced civilizations. While writing represents civilization, it's not the only marker. Beyond archaeology, direct contact with prehistoric cultures reveals their living conditions. As mentioned earlier, some Pacific islands ended prehistory recently. European explorers witnessed these civilizations' final state, faithfully conveying value and exploring great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally Book Talk. Today, I'll interpret this book for you called Out of Darkness, with the subtitle Exploring Human Prehistory. People usually call history with written records civilized history, like the four great ancient civilizations. Their civilizations all began after writing appeared, while history before writing is hard to understand. People call this period without written records human prehistory, in English, prehistory, so it's also known as the Dark Ages. Due to the lack of written records, people's impression of prehistory always stays on legends and myths, thinking prehistoric humans lived barbaric lives, eating raw flesh and drinking blood, a very dark era. However, with advances in science and technology and the rise of archaeology, people gradually realized that prehistoric humans actually moved out of darkness toward stable and harmonious lives. So when did prehistory begin? And when did it end? What was the real living condition of prehistoric humans really like? Well, the book we're discussing today will answer these questions. The author of this book, Chris Gosden, is a famous British archaeologist, professor at Oxford University, and also the director of the Pitt Rivers Museum. The Pitt Rivers Museum is used by Oxford University to specifically collect archaeological and anthropological artifacts. Professor Gosden wrote this book to review the main research contents and achievements of human prehistory. It mainly introduces this dark history without written records to the public. All right. Next, I'll use two questions to interpret the main content of the book for you. First, what is the basic outline of human prehistory? Second, what is the real survival condition of prehistoric humans? Now, let's talk about the first question. What is the basic outline of human prehistory? Before writing appeared, prehistoric humans had already learned to master the material world, establish their own social order, and long emerged from darkness. That concludes the main content of this book. Human prehistory is a period without written records. Through archaeological methods, we've recognized and reconstructed aspects of prehistoric human civilization, understanding humanity's gradual emergence from darkness. Yet, compared to millions of years of human development, more truths await discovery. All right, that wraps up our interpretation of Out of Darkness. Reading notes are below the audio. We'll meet again with the next great book.